take a second just to scan it. We're going to do this pretty quickly, but scan through this. How might you change this activity or recipe, excuse me, or adapt this recipe based on your own personal preferences and likes? Okay, so I want you to think about that. And then again, I'm going to give you just 15, 20 seconds to just quickly scan it. Everyone have something that they might change about the recipe? Okay. All right. And then I'm going to have you go to Menti, and I'm going to have you type in 79197812, and we'll put the link in chat. All right. And I've got the results projected if you'd like to see. Swap the pecans for walnuts. Yes, I like pecans more than walnuts. I agree. Some flowers for allergy friendly. Take out the vanilla. Change the quantity or change the dairy for vegan. Yeah, I'm a dark chocolate lover over milk chocolate. Yeah, and please don't feel that you need to take this too seriously. It's just any way that you might change the recipe. Awesome. So just for fun, here's how I might change or adapt this recipe. So I personally like non-dairy butter, and maybe I don't have that specific type of vanilla extract, but I have some that my parents brought back from Mexico. So I might use that Mexican vanilla extract. I love peanut butter chocolate chips as well. So I might do half dark chocolate and half peanut butter. And then when it comes to the instructions themselves, I might come in here and change how it's prepared. I think it calls for an air fryer, and maybe I don't have an air fryer. Maybe I want to use an oven. Does that make sense to everybody? So a lot of us, we love to go online and we find recipes, right? But we always make little changes just to adapt it to the needs of our kitchen, to our lifestyle, and to our own personal preferences when it comes to recipes like cookies, for example. And I think I had a little typo in this last slide, but Kelly corrected it, not knowing what I was doing. I wanted to show you that, so I had baking spelled incorrectly. And the reason why I just want to show you why I have this blue here is that that is a revision, but it's not something that like I would recommend revising an activity for. If you catch a typo, if you want to just change like, a grammatical mistake or things like that, if I saw this on Joy the Baker's recipe, I would probably just email her, or I might comment on her recipe and say, hey, Joy, I noticed that you have a mistake. Same thing with the Pathways Project. You don't have to go through the process of revising an activity if you catch any typos or grammatical errors. We're really responsive. Our email address is pathwaysproject@boisestate.edu. Send us an email, and in a couple of business days, we'll update that. So there are definitely things that need to be revised. And we're human, and a lot of these activities are made by students, right? And we proofread, but we still have mistakes. So you can email us, and we will help you with that. So let's apply that same idea, right? Of, hey, I have some instructions, and now I want to tailor them to fit the needs of my students, not my kitchen, my students in this case, right? So I'd like to give you just a minute to just read over this activity. It's a short warm-up. I can't give you a whole activity, that would take too long, but just a little piece of an activity in English. And I want you to think about just one thing that you would do to adapt this to meet the needs of your language classroom. Does that make sense to everybody? So just think of one thing, and then I will have you go back to Menti and add what changes would you make to this warm-up. But I'll go ahead and leave this slide up for you so you can look at the warm-up for a minute, and then we'll come back to the Menti. So I'm going to give you about a minute or so to look over this and just pick one thing. If you have time to pipe in more, awesome, but just share one thing that you would change. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look. One of the most obvious ones, use the target language. That's great, right? So change the instructions from English into the target language. Yep, that's awesome. Change the image for younger kids. Add sentence frames to scaffold for my K-5 kids. Share why would your friend like this activity. Provide lists of stores in the target language for students to choose from. Maybe from places in the target culture too, right? That would be really cool. You're planning a party for your besties. What activities would they like to do? Love this. What occasion would you buy for?
See, this is what we're talking about, y'all. I want to take a screenshot of this and immediately make some revisions to this activity. Very cool ideas.
A little bit more scaffolding, add a cultural aspect. The party's happening in Senegal. That's really cool. Explain who you'd buy it for and why. Yeah. That's awesome. So this is just a snippet of one of the activities. Remember, we have the warm up, the main activity, and the wrap up, but you did a great job going through and thinking about how you might revise this. So I want you to see, I think sometimes when we talk about the concept of revision, that feels a little scary. It's like, wow, I've got to make so many changes, but you were able to just in a minute or so, very quickly think of some changes that you can make to make this activity better for your students. So a couple other reasons why you might want to revise that we maybe didn't cover in the Menti. Better fit your preferences or your teaching style. If you have an online classroom, if you have a group of 30 students versus a group of 8 students, for example, or maybe there's a certain way that you like to teach that you want to incorporate. Localize the materials to fit your learning environment, right? So some of our activities in the Pathways Project reference Boise State. And if you are somewhere else, you might want to customize that to include the name of your school or maybe local, like shops in the local area that you're at, or even to incorporate like multicultural elements to it, which I have think in the last bullet here, but maybe you want to include a variety of different things, different shops from different places. Maybe there's only stores in France and you want to include some other French-speaking countries, for example. Alter the length or the difficulty. I saw a lot of you mentioning scaffolding. That is wonderful. Adjust the content to fit a different age group. Yeah, I saw a couple comments to change the pictures for younger kids. Adjust for a different language, right? So this is in English, so all of you would have had to adapt this, but we encourage you to even look at activities from different languages and to adapt those. And then, like I said, address multiculturalism by improving the representation, addressing diversity needs, and really, as Kelly mentioned at the very beginning of our workshop, making our students feel represented in the materials. So I have a really great graphic I'm going to share with you. I don't know if has anyone seen this graphic before? It's from User Interface Design. I think this is a really great reminder of some of the things that as we remix or revise or even just create new activities from scratch that we might want to keep in mind. So often Shannon and I were, who was our OER librarian, wave Shannon, so we were talking about that I feel like gender and also ethnicity are ones that maybe we do a good job of, but maybe we think we miss out on some of these other things. So if you have a unit on food, what about diets? Are you representing different diets, both from our students, but also from the target culture, right? I think about housing a lot. So it's so common in our textbooks to see, I'm going to pick on French, for example, but to see a beautiful Parisian apartment in the textbook. And is that representative of French speakers around the world? No, everybody lives in so many different accommodations, including our students, right? So think about different incomes and social classes when you create activities and also when you use visual materials. Ableness, for example, is a really great one too. It's something that we often forget about. And I have this really cool presentation that we'll put the link in chat for you. It is a list of free design resources. So hopefully that will get you excited, and then you'll be even more excited when you learn that they're inclusive design resources. And so we have really great collections of different types of photos, illustrations, graphics that are openly licensed. There's information on how to give credit. That's another question that I know that I struggle with a lot even. So there's information there. And so this is as you start to revise or remix an activity, that could be really helpful for you to be thinking about some of the visuals that you might want to include or replace in the activity. So I just want to